property, plant, and equipment, or PPE. Class, our topic for today is property, plant, and equipment, or PPE. We'll divide our discussion into two parts. Part 1 is about costing, and part 2 is about depreciation. PPE is under PAS 16. And in PAS 16, PPE is defined as tangible assets used in business that are long-term in nature. Keywords natin, class: tangible, business, and long-term. Tangible assets meaning merong physical substance or nahahawakan natin yung PPE. Used in business because the purpose of PPE is, number 1, for production or supply of goods and services. Number 2 is for rental. And number 3 is for administrative purposes. If you remember, class, medyo na-discuss na natin yung PPE under investment property. Ang ibang term for PPE is owner-occupied property. So before, we learned that we use PPE for our operations, or yun yung production or supply of goods and services. Pwede rin natin gamitin yung PPE for administrative purposes. Let's say, ginamit natin yung PPE as our head office. Okay? Now, sir, bakit may rental dyan? Akala ko baka pag for rental, considered as investment property. Well, ang magandang example nito, class, is hotel. Okay? For a hotel, ang main line of business niya, nagpapa-rent siya ng rooms, so considered yung hotel as PPE, hindi yan investment property. Again, kapag related sa main line of business, PPE yung classification niyan. Okay? And third is long-term in nature. It means the life of the PPE is more than 12 months. That's why PPE is presented as non-current assets. Now, let's have some examples of PPE. Number 1 is land. Obviously, sa land, dyan tayo nagko-construct ng building. Okay? Number 2 is building. Examples of building: head office, factory, warehouse, yung mga ganyan. Number 3, machinery. Ano mga examples yan? Construction tools, electric generator, ano pa? Appliances. Number 4, equipment such as computer, printer, cash register. Next is land improvements. Let's say, class, nagpa-construct tayo ng sidewalks or mga landscaping or mga parking spaces. Consider yun as land improvements. Okay? Next is leasehold improvements. Ano ibig sabihin yan, sir? Let's say, class, nagrenta tayo ng vacant property. Okay? Bare yung property. Ang ginawa natin, naglagay tayo ng improvements or mga structures. Nagpalagay tayo ng tiles, ng walls, ng ceiling. Ang tawag lang dun, class, leasehold improvements. And last one, furniture and fixtures such as tables, okay, chairs, cabinets, yung mga ganyan. So we have 7 examples of PPE. Let's now go to measurement. Just like other assets, meron tayong initial measurement and we have subsequent measurement. Okay. PPE is initially measured at cost. Laging at cost yan. Okay. The cost includes the purchase price or kung how much yung binayad natin for the PPE plus directly attributable costs. Ulitin ko, class. PPE is initially measured at cost. Cost includes purchase price, kung how much yung binayad natin for the PPE, plus directly attributable costs. Sir, what do you mean by directly attributable costs? These are costs necessary to bring the asset or the PPE for its intended use. So yung keyword natin dito, class, yung word na necessary. Okay? Kailangan ba natin i-incur yung cost na yan for the intended use of the PPE? If the answer is yes, kapag necessary, kakapitalize mo yan sa PPE. If the answer is no, if hindi necessary, we charge it to expense. Alright, now, before we can capitalize a cost, kailangan masatisfy niya muna yung 2 requirements, okay? Before we can capitalize. Number 1, the cost must generate probable future economic benefits. Siguro, class, lagi nyo nababasa yung future economic benefits. Ano ba ibig sabihin niya, sir? Ibig sabihin, class, yung cost na na-incur natin, ang contribution niyan in the future is either to increase revenues or to decrease our expenses. Okay? Ang tawag ngayon doon, future economic benefits. Second, the cost should be or can be measured reliably. Okay? Measured reliably. So again, before tayo mag-capitalize, dapat ma-meet niyo muna yung requirements na to. Must contribute or generate probable future economic benefits and the cost can be measured reliably. Let's go to subsequent measurement. Every December 31, we have an option. Okay? Meron tayong option to use either the cost model or the revaluation model. We have separate session for the revaluation model. So for now, mag-focus muna tayo sa cost model. Ano ibig sabihin ng cost model, sir? If you look at the balance sheet, under the cost model, makikita mo doon sa PPE is presented as cost, which is yung initial measurement, minus accumulated depreciation. Later, i-discuss natin yung depreciation. Minus accumulated impairment. We have separate session for impairment. You get the carrying amount, also called carrying value, also called book value. Okay, so ulitin ko. Pag cost model, yung PPE mo is presented in the balance sheet at cost, which is the initial measurement, minus accumulated depreciation, minus accumulated impairment, makukuha mo dyan, carrying amount, carrying value, or book value. Interchangeably, gagamitin natin yung terms na yun, pero most of the time, ang gagamitin kong term is carrying amount. Okay? Sige, now, Obviously, cost is very important. Okay? Kasi yun yung basis natin ng initial measurement. And the cost will depend kung paano natin in-acquire yung PPE. Okay? Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na modes of acquisition. Meron tayong 7 modes of acquisition. Each of these, may kanya-kanyang rules. Aralin natin yan para malaman natin kung how much yung cost. So, gagawin natin for each item, discuss natin, and then diretso sagot sa handouts. Okay? Let's start with the first mode of acquisition. Self-constructed PPE. So, ano ibig sabihin ng self-constructed? Ibig sabihin niya, class, bumili tayo ng land and then magpapakonstruct tayo ng building. Okay, ibig sabihin niya, if the PPE is self-constructed, ay kakapitalize natin, direct materials, direct labor, and overhead. Kasi yun yung magagastusin mo kapag nag-construct ng building. Actually, i-expound natin yan pagdating sa cost accounting. Okay? Pero for now, tandaan mo, class, kapag self-constructed, capitalize natin materials, labor, and overhead. Plus, all directly attributable costs. So, lahat ng costs necessary to bring the asset or the PPE for its intended use, kakapitalize natin yan. Actually, yung directly attributable cost, lahat yan, applicable sa lahat ng modes of acquisition yan. Okay? Now, apply muna natin yung class. Let's go to illustrative example number 1. Illustrative example number 1. Nakita nyo ba yung pinnacle company purchased land for 2 million? Ayan, doon tayo. Sige. Let's take a look at the requirement first. Compute for the cost of the following items of PPE. Land, building, and land improvement. So, gawin natin. Lagyan natin siya dito. Land, building, and land improvement. Okay. Sige. So, let's read the given. Pinnacle company purchased land for 2 million. Obviously, para sa land yan. So, i-charge mo yung 2 million sa land. Okay? Immediately after the purchase, Pinnacle started construction of a new building. Kaya, self-constructed. Bumili tayo ng land and construct tayo ng building. Pinnacle incurred the following additional costs. So, tingnan natin, class, for each line item, saan natin siya i-charge? Land building or land improvement. Okay? First item, legal cost of acquiring land. Ano ba example ng legal cost of acquiring land? Well, yung fees na babayaran natin para ma-transfer yung title sa atin, yung land title. Yun yung example niyan. So, obviously, related sa land yan. So, 10,000. Next, special assessment. So, ano ibig sabihin ng special assessment? For example, class, meron tayong land. And then si government, biglang nagpa-construct ng highway. Okay? Sa land, malapit sa land natin. So, ang effect niyan, tataas yung value ng land. Actually, hindi yan libre. Okay? So, kapag may public improvements si government and tumaas yung value ng property natin, magbabayad tayo ng tax dyan. Ang tawag doon, special assessment tax. Yun siya. Special assessment, related yan sa land. So, charge mo yan sa land. Okay? Next, survey costs. So, survey costs ang bahala dyan yung mga geodetic engineers to make sure na level or patag yung land. Okay? Yung mga surveying costs na yan, charge mo yan sa land. Okay? How much? 15,000. Let's go to the next item, materials, labor, and overhead. Ito siya. Obviously, ini-incur natin yan for the building, so 5.5 million. Next, cash discounts on materials purchased not taken. So again, meron materials, labor, and overhead. Doon sa materials, meron daw discount, pero hindi taken, hindi natin tinake advantage yung discount. Ano gagawin mo dyan? Actually, according to PPE 16, for cash discounts, whether taken or not, ima-minus natin yan. Okay? So in that case, yung 30,000, ima-minus mo yan. Para maalala mo yung class, ganito yung concept niya. No? Again, very important yung cost in PPE. Okay? And cost is actually equal to the fair value. Right? Now, for example, si supplier, merong in-offer sa atin na materials. 50,000. O, sige, sabi ng supplier, sige, pag nagbayad ka on time, bibigyan kita ng discount na 2,000. So, babayaran na natin is 48,000 after the discount. Okay? Now, ano ba ibig sabihin ng fair value? Ano ba yung definition yan? It is the price the seller is willing to sell, basically. Okay? So, si seller, willing siya ibenta yung material sa atin for 48,000. Ibig sabihin, class, ito yung fair value. Okay? So, it means whether i-take advantage natin or hindi, yung discount. Ang willing si seller, ibenta sa atin is 48,000. Cost is equal to fair value, therefore, lagi mong ima-minus yung discount because kailangan natin i-record at fair value, which is yung net amount niya. Ulitin ko, class, cash discounts, whether taken or not, ima-minus mo yan sa building. Okay, in this case, sa building, 30,000. Next, clerical and other expenses related to construction. O, syempre, kinukonstruct natin yung building, lagyan mo sa building yan, 14,000. Next, excavation costs. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng excavation costs? Yun yung paghuhukay na, okay? To build foundation. Maglalagay na tayo ng walls, ng mga posts. So, actually, class, yung excavation cost, yan charge sa building yan. Huh? So, lagay natin sa building, 100,000. Sir, paano natin maalala na yung excavation cost sa building siya charge? Tanda mo, ganito yung class. Lahat ng costs na i-incur natin until ma-flatten yung land or mapatag yung land. Okay? Lahat ng costs na i-incur natin until ma-flatten yung land, i-charge mo sa land. Pagpatag na yung land, lahat ng costs after that, building na. Okay? So, na-flat na yung land, obviously, dyan ka pala mag-excavate. Dyan ka pala maghuhukay. O di sa building na yung excavation cost na yan. So, tanda mo, until ma-flatten yung land, land. Pag flattened na, lahat ng subsequent costs, building na. Okay? So, excavation, lagay mo sa building yan. Next, architectural fees and building permit. Obviously, building. Next, supervision by management on construction. Well, yun yung salary ng mga foreman. Okay? Yung nagbabantay, supervise. 12,000. Insurance premiums paid for workers. Building yan. So, ang rule dyan, class, kapag yung insurance binayaran mo during construction, capitalize mo sa building yon. Pero pag after the construction na, prepaid insurance yan. Huwag mo i-capitalize sa building. So ito, during construction yan, i-capitalize natin. Payment for claim for injuries not covered by insurance, well, pwede natin sabihin na inefficiency yan, so expense yan. Okay, charge to expense. Savings on construction, nakatipid tayo. Sa accounting, hindi naman tayo nagre-record kapag nakatipid tayo, tama? So ignore mo lang yan. Cost of changes to plans and specifications due to inefficiency. Sabi ko, pag inefficiency, expense. Okay? Paving of streets and sidewalks. Well, actually, yan yung land improvements. Ito class yung rules sa land improvements. Ang dama to, ha? Okay, so titingnan muna kung part ng blueprint, okay, or ng drawing, yung land improvements or yung cost. Okay? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng blueprint? Well, before ka mag-construct ng building, dapat may blueprint yan or may drawing muna. Okay? Now, kapag part siya of the blueprint, lagyan natin dito yes, lagyan natin dito no. Kapag part ng blueprint, ilagay mo sa building, i-charge mo yan sa building. If hindi part ng blueprint, i-charge mo yan sa land improvements. Okay? Ganyan yung rules. Okay? Basahin ulit natin. Paving of streets and sidewalks. Wala naman sinabing part ng blueprint. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, land improvements yan. Lagyan natin dito. How much? 10,000. Kapag nakalagay dyan, part ng blueprint, ibig sabihin, part ng plano sa building, lagay mo sa building. Okay? Pag silent, land improvements. Ang dami yan. Next is income earned on a vacant space rented as parking. Other income yan. Okay? So, hindi mo i-capitalize yan. Let's compute the balances. Okay, so for the land, 2 million plus 10,000 plus 5,000 plus 15,000, you should get 2,030,000. Sagot natin sa land, 2,030,000. Let's compute for the building, 5.5 million minus 30,000 plus 14 plus 100 plus 60,000. Ulit, 5.5 million minus 30 plus 14 plus 100 plus 60 plus 12,000 plus 130,000. You should get 5,786,000. 5,786,000. This is our answer for the building, for the land improvements, 10,000. Ganyan siya, class. Okay, so, ayan. Sige, lagyan natin ang journal entries para malinaw. So, journal entry natin dyan, first entry, debit land, 2,030,000. Okay. Debit building, 5,786,000. Debit land improvements, 10,000. So, credit cash, ano ba yung total niyan? 2,030,000 plus 5,786 plus 10,000. That is 7,826,000. Okay? And remember, class, meron din tayong expense kanina. Naalala nyo, may mga nirecord tayong expense. Yun yung payment for claim or injuries not covered by insurance. Nakita nyo yung 45,000 sa baba. And then yung cost of changes due to inefficiencies. So yung 45 plus yung 140, 185,000. Charge mo sa expense yan. Debit expense, credit cash, 185,000. And then yung pinaka-last item, class, yung income earned on a vacant space, debit cash, credit, other income. Okay, so para lang ma-visualize mo yung mga entries, ito yung journal entries natin, 9,000. Okay, so that's for illustrative example number 1. Let's go to illustrative example main problem number 1 pala tayo. Okay, main problem number 1, but before we discuss that, may di-discuss lang, mabilis lang. Okay, another concept, marami sa nalilito dito, no? So, what if meron tayong lump sum acquisition of land and building? Okay, so ano ibig sabihin ng lump sum acquisition? For example, class, ito yung land, ito yung building. Okay, merong old building. Lagyan natin old building. Okay? Binili natin yan. So yung land and yung old building for 10 million pesos. Ayan. So ang tawag natin dyan, lump sum acquisition. Isang bayad lang for land and building. Ganito gagawin. Ito yung mga rules yung class. Kung ano yung accounting dyan. The first question is, check mo muna if the building, okay, is usable or not usable. Okay? So, binili mo yung land, tingnan mo muna yung old building kung usable or not usable. If usable, if magagamit pa, yung purchase price, yung binayad natin na 10 million, okay, i-allocate mo yan to land and building. Ganun yung rule dyan. Paano mo i-allocate? At fair value. Usually, may given na fair value, allocate mo siya. Okay? If hindi na usable yung old building, not usable, 100% of the purchase price, which is yung 10 million, capitalize mo yan sa land. Okay? Next issue. What if i-demolish natin yung old building? Demolition cost. I-remove natin yung old building and then magtatayo tayo ng new building. Ganyan yung plano natin. Okay? Ano gagawin natin dyan? Well, una mong gagawin, class, yung carrying amount of old building, okay, assuming usable. Pag usable kasi, mag-allocate ka sa old building. Tama? Yung carrying amount niyan, i-charge mo sa loss. Alright? For example, class, dun sa kanina, yung 10 million, for example, in-allocate natin 8 million sa land, 2 million sa building. Yung 2 million sa building, i-charge mo sa loss. Kasi di-demolish mo na, di mo nagagamitin. Okay? And then, yung demolition cost mo, yung ginastos mo to demolish the old building, capitalize to new building. Okay? Kakapitalize mo sa new building yan. Yung ginastos mo para ma-remove yung old building. Bakit, sir? Kasi necessary siya for the intended use of the new building. Okay? Pero tandaan mo, class, net of proceeds from salvage value. Okay? Ano ibig sabihin, sir, ng net of proceeds from salvage value? Ano ibig sabihin yan, sir? So, Dinemolish natin yung old building, okay? Nabenta natin yung mga parts yan or materials. Okay? Nabenta natin. So, yung cost ng pag-demolish natin, ima-minus mo dun sa nabenta mo na salvage value. Yun yung ibig sabihin niya. For example, ang demolition cost natin is 100,000. Tapos yung materials ng old building, 20,000 minus mo yan. So, yung 80,000, yan lang yung ikakapitalize mo sa new building. Gets? Okay. So, marami kasi nalilito. So, nilinaw ko lang. So, hopefully, na-gets nyo yan. Let's go to main problem number 1. Main problem number 1, erase ko na to class. Ganun pa rin, costing pa rin tayo. So, let's see. We have ilang questions for main problem number 1. Okay, 5 questions. Cost of land, cost of building, land improvements. So, gawin natin. Okay, main problem number 1. Lalagay ko dito class, cost of land. Dito yung building. What else? Land improvements. Amount that should have been expensed. Lagyan natin dyan. And then, okay. So, this Commercial Corporation was incorporated on January 2. The following items relate to its property and equipment transactions. Cost of land, which include a dilapidated apartment building. Pag dilapidated, well, old building yan, okay? Obviously, hindi na magagamit pag ganun. And also, by the way, class, para may clue kayo, no? Balik muna tayo dito. If yung fair value is given, okay? If the fair value of old building is given, tanda mo, ang assumption doon, usable yung old building. So, ulitin ko. Kapag sa problem, yung fair value of the old building is given, ang assumption, usable yung old building. Ibig sabihin, yung purchase price, allocate mo sa land and the old building. Okay? So, dito class, nakalagay, cost of land, which included a dilapidated apartment building. Walang binigay na fair value dun sa old building. So, ang assumption mo dyan, not usable. Therefore, lahat yan sa land mo ilalagay. Okay? So, 3 million. Kapag naman usable yung building, let's say may given na fair value, allocate mo yung 3 million to the land and building using kung may given na fair values dyan. Okay? Sige. Next, apartment building mortgage assumed, including related interest due at the time of purchase. Pag mortgage, ibig sabihin, yung land, merong utang sa bangko. Okay? May bank loan pa yan. Inassume natin. O, charge mo sa land yan. Okay? 80,000. Next, delinquent property taxes assumed by the company. So, yung mga property taxes, yan yung real property tax sa land din yan. Pag inassume natin, kakapitalize mo yan sa land. Okay? 30,000. Pero, subsequently, for example, December 31, magbabayad ka ng tax. Expense na yun. Lahat na ng inassume mo na interest and taxes at the time of purchase, yun na yung kakapitalize mo. Subsequently, charge to expense. Okay? Payments to tenants to vacate the apartment building. Tanda mo, class, ganito nangyari dyan. Sa old building, merong tenants. Papaalisin natin, babayaran natin sila. Okay? I-charge mo yun sa new building. Because necessary yan for us to construct the new building. Ganun yung assumption dyan. So, 20,000, lagay mo yun sa new building. Okay? And then, cost of raising the apartment building, yung demolition cost. Ano sabi ko dyan? Pag demolition cost, i-charge mo yun sa new building. Pero, ininet mo yung proceeds. Okay? How much yung proceeds? Ano sa next item? Proceeds from sale of salvage materials, 10,000. So, 40 minus 10, 30,000 lagay mo yun sa building. Okay, next. Architect fee for new building. Obviously, building yan. Next is building permit. Obviously, building. Fee for title search. Ano ba yung may title? Hindi yung land. Di ba? Land title. So, lagay mo dyan, 25,000 for the land. And then, survey before construction. Again, pag surveying, to make sure na patag yung land. So, sa land yan. Next is excavation. As mentioned before, sa building excavation. Payment to building contractor, 10 million. Assessment by city. Again, assessment tax sa land yan. And then, cost of grading and leveling, pagpapatag. So, hanggang ma-flatten yung land, sa land yan. So, lagay mo dito, 50,000. Temporary quarters for construction crew and temporary building to house tools and materials. Ang tawag natin dyan, barracks. Yung mga barracks, yun yung temporary na tinitirahan ng mga construction workers. Okay? Necessary yan for the building. Okay? So, lagay natin dyan. How much? 80,000 and 50,000. Okay, next. Cost of changes during construction to make building more energy efficient. Probable future economic benefits. Pag more efficient siya, bababa yung expenses natin. Capitalize mo sa building yan. Okay? 90,000. Next, interest cost on specific borrowing incurred during construction. Actually, borrowing cost yung concept nito. Pero tayong separate topic for borrowing cost. Pero for now, tanda mo, kinakapitalize yan sa building. Okay? So, lagay mo dyan, 360. And then, payment of medical bill. So, employees accidentally injured while inspecting. Inefficiency, expense yan. So, lagay mo dito. Expense, 18,000. Cost of paving driveway and parking lot. Uy, walang sinabing kasama sa blueprint. Ibig sabihin, land improvements. Okay? 60,000. Land improvements. And then, cost of installing lights in parking lot, walang sinabing kasama sa blueprint. So, land improvements. Pag silent, land improvements yan. Premium for insurance, during construction. Pag during, capitalize mo yan sa building. If after, insurance expense yan or prepaid insurance. Cost of open house party to celebrate opening. So, tapos na yung building, hindi na necessary yan. So, expense, 50,000. Cost of windows broken by vandals, 12,000. Inefficiency. So, 12,000 expense yan. Let's compute for the balances. Start mo tayo with land, 3 million. Plus 80,000, plus 30,000, plus 25, plus 20, plus 15, plus 50, you should get 3220,000. Answer, letter D or dog, 3220,000. Let's go to building, 20,000, plus 30, plus 60, plus 40, plus 100, plus 10 million, plus 80,000, plus 50, plus 90, plus 360 plus 30, you should get 10,860,000 for the building. That is letter boy. For land improvement, 60,000 plus 12, that is 72,000. That is also boy. Expense natin, 18,000 plus 50,000 plus 12,000, that is 80,000, letter A. And then yung question number 5 naman, class, total depreciable property and equipment. So alam natin, ang hindi natin depreciate is land. Okay? So lahat yan depreciate natin except land. So ang sasama mo lang dyan, yung building and land improvements. 10,860,000 plus 72,000. Sagot natin dito, class. 10,932,000. Answer letter boy for question number 5. Okay. So that's for main problem number 1. Let's go to illustrative example number 2. Ganun pa rin, class. Costing pa rin. Madali lang to. Practice lang tayo ng costing. Okay? Because usually, yan naman yung tanong sa PPE about costing and depreciation. Let's go to illustrative example number 2. Okay. Requirement is compute for the total amount that should be capitalized as cost of the equipment. So, equipment naman. Mr. Accounting, companies installing a new equipment at the production facility and incur the following cost. Cost of equipment per supplier's invoices, capitalize natin yan. Initial delivery and handling cost, necessary, capitalize natin yan. Cost of site preparation, necessary. Consultants used for advice on the acquisition of equipment, necessary. Interest charges paid to supplier for deferred credit, interest expense yan, so may ka-capitalized. Estimated dismantling cost to be incurred as required by contract. Ano ibig sabihin ng dismantling cost? Ibig sabihin niyang, class, at the end of the life of the equipment, kailangan tanggalin natin siya. I-remove natin. Dismantling cost yan. Ika-capitalize mo yan if required by contract or required by law. Okay, tandaan yan. Operating loss before commercial production, hindi yan. Pag operating loss, mas mataas yung expenses sa revenues, huwag mo i-capitalize yan. Okay, so let's compute. Okay, sabayan niyo ako mag-compute. 2.5 million plus 200,000 plus 600,000 plus 700,000 plus 300,000. Sagot natin dito, class. 4.3 million for illustrative example number 2. Let's go to illustrative example number 3. Okay, requirement is compute for the total amount that should be capitalized as cost of the machinery. Okay, ABC company acquired a machine and incurred the following costs. First item, cash paid for machine including VAT of 96,000. Uy, may taxes. Yung VAT is a tax, tama? Ganito, class, at tatandaan mo kapag taxes pagdating sa PPE. Dalawa lang naman yan, is either non-refundable or refundable. Okay? Kapag yung tax class is non-refundable, ika-capitalize mo yan. Letter C na lang. Ika-capitalize mo siya dun sa PPE. Okay? If refundable, such as VAT, huwag mo ika-capitalize. Ikaw lang X. Huwag mo ika-capitalize yan. Okay? Separate mong i-report yan. Okay? Tututunan natin, class, in taxation na yung VAT, specifically input VAT, pwede mo siyang i-refund from BIR or pwede mo siyang i-offset sa output VAT. Okay? So, since refundable siya, hindi siya kinakapitalize. So, that's why here, 896,000 minus 96,000, 800,000 lang yan. Pakita ko yung journal entry para mas malinaw. So, entry natin dyan, class, is debit machinery, 800,000, debit input VAT, 96,000, credit cash, 896,000. Ganito yung entry niya. Kaya yung machinery natin, class, ang kinapitalize natin, 800. Yung input VAT, actually, pwede mo i-report yan as prepaid asset. Okay? So, ganun siya. Sige, next. Cost of transporting machine, necessary, 30,000. Labor cost of installation, necessary yan, 50. Labor cost of testing, necessary yan. Insurance cost for the current year. Hindi naman during construction, current year. Expense yan, insurance expense. Cost of training the personnel, ibig sabihin, na-install na natin. Okay? Hindi na yan necessary for the intended use. Expense yan. Cost of safety rails and platforms surrounding the machine, necessary. Cost of water device, okay, to keep machine cool, necessary. Cost of adjustment to make it more efficient. Probable future economic benefits. Ibig sabihin, less expenses. So, capitalize natin, 75,000. Estimated dismantling cost, as I mentioned before, kapag required by contract or law, kakapitalize mo yan. Required daw by contract, 65,000. Let's compute for the total machinery. 800,000 plus 30,000 plus 50,000 plus 40 plus 60 plus 80 plus 75 plus 65,000. You get 1.2 million. Answer natin for number 3 is 1.2 million. Okay, next. Punta naman tayo, class, sa main problem number 2. Erase ko na to, class, ha? So, main problem number 2. This is the last for yung before we move on to the next mode of acquisition. Okay, main problem number 2. We have 4 questions. Okay? We have 4 questions. Question number 1, what is the total cost of the land? Question number 2, what is the total cost of land improvements? Number 3, what is the total cost of the buildings? And total cost of machinery and equipment. Okay, so yun yung questions natin. Actually, kulang yung given. Idagdag mo na lang to. Actually, dapat may mga beginning balances yan. Okay? So, dagdag mo na lang sa given. Ito, class, yung beginning balances of this PPE. Okay? For land, beginning balance is 4 million. For land improvements, 1.3 million. For building is 20 million. Machinery and equipment is 8 million. Okay, dagdag mo lang sa given. Okay? During the current year, the following transactions occurred. Bullet 1. A tract of land was acquired for 2 million. Obviously, sa land yan. So, lagay mo sa land. Okay, sa building site. Bullet number 2, a plant facility consisting of land and building was acquired in exchange for 200,000 shares of the entity. On the acquisition date, each share had a quoted price of 45. Multiply natin yung class. 200,000 times 45. Tama ba? Binayad natin is 9 million. Okay? So tanda mo class, whenever bumibili tayo ng land and building, lump sum, ang ibang term dyan is basket acquisition. Okay? Ipo-prorate natin yan or i-allocate natin sa land and building using their fair value. So tingnan natin asan yung fair values dito. The plant facility was carried on the seller's books of 1.6 million for land and 5.4 million for the building. O hindi yan, carrying amount yan, hindi naman fair value yan. Current appraised values, yung appraised values, okay, pina-appraise natin yan sa mga appraisal experts, yun yung fair value, okay? For the land and building, 2 million, 8 million. So, allocate natin. We have land and building. 2 million daw yung land and building is 8 million. So, total of 10 million. Allocate natin. So, ito yung allocation. 9 million times 2 over 10, therefore, 1.8 million yung allocated to land. Sa building naman, 9 million times 8 over 10, 7.2 million naman yung allocated to the building. Therefore, for number 2, 1.8 million sa land and 7.2 million for the building. So, tanda mo class, pag may lump sum acquisition, or ang tawag din dyan is basket acquisition or basket price, allocate mo using fair values. Appraised values yung gagamitin mo, okay? Next, items of machinery and equipment were purchased at a total cost of 4 million. Additional cost incurred, freight, and unloading, 100 and installation of 300. Necessary yung mga yan. 4 million plus 100 plus 300, 4.4 million. I-charge natin yan sa machinery and equipment, 4.4 million. Next, expenditures totaling 1.2 million were made for new parking lots, streets, sidewalks. Okay, so walang sinabing part ng blueprint of the building, therefore land improvements, that is 1.2 million. Let's go to number 5. Research and development costs were 1 million, 1.1 million for the year. Yung mga R&D na ganyang class, expense yan. Tanda mo yan na expense yan. Next, a machine costing 200,000 was scrapped, okay? Or ang ginawa natin dyan, dinirecognize na natin, okay? So, tanggalin na natin sa books natin yan. So, bullet number 6, machinery daw. So, tanggalin mo yan. How much? 200,000, okay? Ini-scrap na natin. Number 7, a machine was sold for 500, original cost 700. Binenta natin, so tanggalin mo na sa books. Tanggalin mo at cost 700,000. Let's compute for the ending balances. Okay, start muna tayo with land. 4 million plus 2 million plus 1.8 million. Answer natin class, 7.8 million, letter A for the land. Question number 2, land improvements, 1.3 million plus 1.2, 2.5 million, letter dog. Okay, for the building, 20 million plus 7.2, 27.2 million, letter C. And then for machinery and equipment, 8 million plus 4.4 million minus 200,000 minus 700,000. You get 11.5 million, letter boy. Okay, so yun yung final answers natin. That's for main problem number 2. Last, let's go to the second mode of acquisition. Acquisition through, number 1, cash basis. For example, straight cash payment yung binayad natin for the PPE. So, ang gagamitin mo lang dyan as basis for your cost is the cash payment. Yun na siya. Now, if our acquisition is on account or on credit, okay, so tanda mo lang class, parang minention ko earlier, the discount is deducted whether taken or not. Okay, lagay ko dito, deduct discount whether taken or not. So, in-explain ko na kung bakit ganun yung reasoning. And number 3 is if it's in installment. Okay, kapag installment, tanda mo class, meron tayong priority. Number 1 is cash price equivalent. So, later, explain ko kung ibig sabihin ng cash price equivalent na yan. And then number 2, if the cash price equivalent is not given, present value natin. Present value of installments. Okay, so, apply natin yung class. Let's go to our illustrative example number 4. Illustrative example number 4. Acquisition on account. So again, kapag cash basis, kung magkano lang cash na binayad mo, yun na yun. Pag on account, i-deduct natin yung discount whether taken or not. Sige, apply natin yan. Illustrative example number 4. Requirements, number 1. Or letter A, compute the initial cost of the equipment. Letter B, prepare journal entries if payment is made within the discount period. Letter C, if payment is made beyond the discount period. CPA company acquired an equipment for 112,000 on account with a credit term of 215 and 30. Any discount is computed based on the purchase price. So yung purchase price dito class is 112,000. Tama? And then, the purchase price is inclusive of 12% VAT. Alam natin, natanggalin natin yung VAT. No? Paano tatanggalin yan? Divide mo sa 1.12, makukuha mo dyan class is 100,000. So, ito yung purchase price excluding VAT. Okay, yun siya. Excluding VAT, 100,000. Alright, so, let's see. Ang nangyari dito class, so meron tayong purchase price ng 100,000. Again, exclude natin yung VAT. And then, i-minus mo yung discount. Kasi sabi natin, whether taken or not, i-minus mo yung discount. Sabi sa problem, any discount is computed based on the purchase price. So, 112,000 times 2% yung discount. 112,000 times 0.02, 2240. Kasi nakalagay, 215 and 30. So 2% discount, 2240. 100,000 minus 2240, whether taken or not, yung cost of our equipment is 100,000 minus 2240, 97,760. Ito yung sagot natin sa requirement A. Cost of the equipment, 97,760. Makita natin yung journal entry. Okay. If the payment is made within the discount period, so ito yung requirement A. Requirement B, ganito gagawin ko dyan class. Debit equipment, okay, 97,760. Debit input VAT. How much yung input VAT natin? Well, yung difference ng 112 and 100, which is 12,000. Tama? 12,000. Credit accounts payable, how much yan? 97,760 plus 12,000, 109,760. Okay? If the payment is made within the discount period, our entry is simply debit accounts payable, credit cash, 109,760. Walang problema. Yung journal entries natin class for requirement B. Okay, requirement C. Paano class kapag nagbayad tayo beyond the discount period, beyond 15 days? Kasi 215 yung nakalagay dyan. Tama? Ano mangyari dyan? Well, yung first entry natin, same. Walang problema dyan. Yan din yung entry natin. Dito lang magkakaiba yan. Okay? So, entry mo, debit accounts payable, 109,760. Kaya lang yung babayaran mo is 112,000 kasi hindi ka nga nakapag-avail ng discount. 112,000. Balancing figure natin, 112,000 minus 109,760, which is basically yung 2240. Okay, lagay mo yun sa purchase discount lost. Okay, 2240. Purchase discount lost, pwede mo i-present yan as other expense. Okay, so ito yung entries natin. Pag made within the discount period, ito naman beyond the discount period. But ang point dito is, even if i-take advantage mo yung discount or hindi, okay, yung cost natin is still equal dun sa naka-minus yung discount. Kaya nakalagay dyan, always deduct natin yung discount. Okay, let's go to illustrative example number 5, deferred settlement. Ang ibig sabihin ng deferred settlement, bumili tayo in installment. Okay? So, tingnan natin class. Erase natin yan. Let's go to illustrative example number 5. Ano ulit class yung rule natin? Kapag yung rules natin for installment, priority mo dyan yung cash price equivalent. Pag walang cash price equivalent, i-present value natin yung installments. Okay? So, illustrative example number 5. On January 1, BSA company purchased an equipment with an installment price of 130,000 and a cash price equivalent of 100,000. So, by paying 10,000 down payment and issuing a 1-year non-interest bearing note. So, ano ba ibig sabihin class ng cash price equivalent? Ganito yan. Pag pumunta ka sa, for example, SM Appliance Center, may TV doon. Tama? Ang price ng TV, okay, nakalagay doon, 50,000 kapag straight cash. Straight cash payment. Okay? Now, kapag gumamit ka naman ng credit card, for example, 70,000 kapag credit card. Okay? Yung TV na yan, let's say payable in 2 years. Okay? Installment kasi 2 years. Tama? Pag straight cash ang binayad mo, 50,000, mas mura. Kapag credit card, syempre may interest yan, let's say 70,000. Yung straight cash na yan, yun yung cash price equivalent. Gets ba? Okay, so pag straight cash, again, yun yung concept of cash price equivalent. Kapag given yun, yun yung cost ng equipment mo or yung PPE mo. Kapag hindi given, ipe-present value mo yung installment. So dito class, nakalagay, okay, cash price equivalent of 100,000, yun na yung sagot natin sa requirement A. Compute the initial cost of the equipment. Again, cash price equivalent or CPE, 100,000. Let's go to requirement B. Prepare the journal entry. Basahin na din natin class. Installment price is 130. Okay, ito yun, pag nag-credit card ka. Okay, and a cash price equivalent of 100,000 by paying 10,000 down payment and issuing a 1-year non-interest bearing note of 120,000 payable in semi-annual installments. Ganito lang yan. Debit equipment at cash price equivalent of 100,000. Credit cash, kasi may down payment tayo, tama? Na 10,000. Credit notes payable, yung total installment is 130. Nagbayad tayo ng 10,000, may 120,000 ka pa dyan. So 120 plus 10, that's 130. To balance the entry, meron tayong discount on notes payable, which is 30,000. This is our journal entry for requirement B. Okay? Let's go to illustrative example number 6. Sir, paano naman kapag walang cash price equivalent? I-present value natin yung installment. On January 1, ABC company purchased an equipment, installment price of 130 by paying 10,000 down payment, yun pa rin, issuing a 3-year note, 120,000 payable in 3 equal installments. The prevailing rate is 12%, and then bigyan tayo ng PV factor for 3 periods, 2.4018. So, ganito nangyari dyan class. Yung installment, in total, is 130. Tama? And then, meron tayong down payment na 10. Therefore, yung installment natin is 120,000. Payable daw siya in 3 years. Divide natin by 3, 40,000 per year. Ito yung ipe-present value natin. Okay? 40,000 per year times natin sa PV factor na 2.4018. Compute natin class ha. 40,000 times 2.4018. Na-compute nyo ba yung 96,072? Okay? So, ganito gagawin ko dyan. Meron akong down payment na 10,000. And then yung present value of installments, 96,072. Add ko yan, 106,072. Yan yung total cost ko dun sa equipment. Okay? Journal entry, debit equipment. So, ito na yung sagot natin sa requirement A, 106,072. Requirement B, journal entry natin, debit equipment, 106,072. Credit cash, na down payment natin na 10,000. Credit notes payable na 120,000. O, tingnan natin yung balancing figure. 10,000 plus 120 minus 106,072. Meron tayong discount on notes payable which is 23,928. Okay, 23,928. Okay. So, diyan yung journal entries ng ating class. Again, may hierarchy yan. Pag given yung cash price equivalent, cash price equivalent. Pag hindi given, magpe-present value tayo. Okay? Sige. So, let's go to the next mode of acquisition. Erase na natin to class. Okay, para malinis yung board. Erase. Our next mode of acquisition is through exchange. Okay, magsaswap tayo ng properties. For example, si Mr. X and Mr. Y. Okay, magpapalitan sila ng properties. Yun ibig sabihin ng exchange. Now, ganito lang tatandaan mo class. Ito lang yung rules natin sa exchange. Titignan mo muna if the exchange is with commercial substance. Okay? Or no commercial substance. Substance. Sir, ano pa ibig sabihin ng commercial substance? Ang ibig sabihin class ng word na commercial substance, difference in cash flows. Madami yun. Commercial substance, difference in cash flows. Okay, bibigyan natin ng example. Si X, ang i-exchange niya kay Y, ang bibigay niya is computer. Si Y naman, ang ibibigay niya, electric generator. Okay, so obviously, yung computer, iba yung nature niyan sa electric generator. So most likely, magkaiba ng cash flows yung dalawa na yan. Ang tawag doon, with commercial substance. Gets? Okay. Scenario number 2, si X, computer ibibigay, let's say Dell. Dell computer. Si Y, ang ibibigay niya, Lenovo, parehong computer. Magkamukha yung cash flows niyan. Ang tawag natin doon, no commercial substance. Clear? Okay. Pag with commercial substance, tandaan mo class, may hierarchy yan. Fair value of asset given up. Okay? Given up. Yung in-exchange natin. So si Y, yung binigay niya na computer. Si X, si Y naman yung binigay niya generator. Given up, yung binigay natin. Plus minus cash. Huwag mo kakalimutan yung plus minus cash. Okay? Kapag nagbigay tayo, okay, plus cash if tayo yung nagbayad. Okay? Minus cash if tayo yung naka-receive. So, isulat mo muna later, i-apply natin yung class. Tandaan mo lang, ang hierarchy natin, fair value of asset given up, plus minus cash. Plus pag tayo nagbayad, kasi given up tayo nagbayad. Ma-minus mo pag na-receive. Tandaan mo, pag receive, parang sukli sa'yo yan. Pag sukli sa'yo yan, ma-minus mo yan. Okay? Next hierarchy natin, fair value of asset received. Okay? Pag hindi given yung fair value of asset given up. And then, yung third natin class is carrying value of asset given up. Pero very rare naman yan, yung carrying value. Usually, it's either 1 or 2, plus minus cash. Okay? So, ganyan yung rules natin dyan. Kapag no commercial substance, again, pareho ng cash flows. Ang measurement mo dito, class, is yung carrying value. Carrying value of asset given up. Okay? Plus minus cash. So, tandaan mo lang, class, kapag no commercial substance, since carrying value yung basis mo, no gain or loss is recognized. Walang gain or loss. Tandaan mo yun. Apply natin yan para mas malinaw. Let's go to illustrative example number 7. Okay, illustrative example number 7. Dito natin lagay. Okay. So, huwag kayong malito din ng class sa exchange. Madali lang yan. Pakita ko sa inyo. Requirements. A. Provide the journal entries in the books of ABC and XYZ. So, dito yung books ni ABC and then books ni XYZ. Okay. Dalawang point of view. Okay, so let's see. ABC company exchange equipment with XYZ. Pertinent data are shown below. Ang palitan si ABC and XYZ. Equipment. Meron tayong given dyan. Equipment, accumulated depreciation, fair value, and cash paid by ABC to XYZ. Si ABC yung nagbayad kay XYZ. Tandaan yan ha. So, siya yung nagbayad ng cash kay XYZ. The exchange transaction has a commercial substance. Ibig sabihin, may difference in cash flows. Magkaiba sila ng nature ng cash flows. If the problem is silent, assume with commercial substance. So, sulat mo yan. Okay, prepare the journal entries. Doon tayo sa books ni ABC. So, si ABC, again, may exchange. Ang priority mo yung given up. Ano ba yung sinurrender dito ng ABC? Tama ba? At fair value. Okay, fair value. How much yun? Nakita mo yung 950,000? Yes. And then, nagbayad sa ABC. Sabi ko, plus minus cash. Eh, nagbayad ka. So, isasama mo yan. Pag naka-receive ka naman ng cash, yung minus mo yan. So, 950 plus binayad natin ng cash na 150. How much yun? 950,000 plus 150. That is 1.1 million. So, debit equipment, lagay ko new. Okay, 1.1 million. And then, credit natin yung equipment na old. I-recognize natin kasi i-transfer mo na, na-exchange mo na. How much yung old? 1 million yung cost. Okay, tanggalin mo na rin yung accumulated depreciation, which is 200,000. Don't forget, nagbayad tayo. So, meron kang cash credit na 150,000. So, ano yung balancing figure natin, class? 1.1 million plus 200,000 minus 1 million minus 150,000. Meron tayong gain on exchange, 150,000. Okay, so ito yung journal entry natin in the books of ABC. Tandaan mo, ito yung important dyan, yung 1.1 million. Fair value of asset given up, 950,000 plus yung cash na binayad natin na 150, that's 1.1 million. Punta tayo kay XYZ. Ano yung in-exchange sa XYZ? Fair value, nakita mo yung 150,000? Yes. Si XYZ naman yung naka-receive. Sabi ko, pag naka-receive ka ng cash, sukli yan. So, yung mamayas mo yan. Debit equipment. Okay. New. 150 minus 150, that's 1 million. Right? And then, debit accumulated depreciation, recognize na natin yan. That is 800,000. Credit equipment old, recognize na natin yan. That is 2 million. Naka-receive tayo ng cash, debit cash, 150,000. Tingnan natin cash yung balancing figure, 2 million minus 150 minus 800 minus 1 million. That is 50,000. So debit naman. Debit loss on exchange, 50,000. So may gain si ABC, may loss naman si XYZ. Alright? Sige. Actually, pag ang taon lang is gain or loss, pag journal entry ka, para sigurado. Pero may shortcut dyan actually. Compare mo lang yung na-receive and then yung compare mo lang yung carrying amount and fair value. Okay, yung shortcut dyan. Tama ba? Merong gain si ABC na 150,000. Ano ang gagawin ko dyan? Carrying amount, which is yung cost minus accumulated depreciation, 800,000 yan, tama? I-compare mo lang sa fair value na na-receive. Ano yung fair value na na-receive ni ABC? 950,000. So, difference ng carrying amount and fair value, 150,000, which is mas malaki yung na-receive mo, gain yan. Ayun yung shortcut dyan. Naman tayo kay XYZ. Ano yung carrying amount ni XYZ? Cost minus accumulated depreciation. So, 2 million minus 800, 1.2 million. How much yung fair value na na-receive niya? That is, how much yun? That is 150,000. O yung sinurrender niya, 150,000. Okay? So, 1.2 million minus 150,000, that is 50,000 na lost naman this time. Okay? Pwedeng ganun yung analysis mo para sigurado ka. Mag-journal entry ka na lang. Okay? So, this is requirement A. Requirement B. Using the same information, except that ABC cannot determine the fair value of the equipment given up, but is aware of the equipment received from XYZ. Hindi daw determinable ang 1. O punta tayo sa 2. Fair value of asset received. Okay? So, in the books of ABC, how much yung fair value ng asset na na-receive? 150,000. Tama? 150,000. So, debit equipment, new, 150,000. Take note, walang nakalagay na plus minus cash. Sa second na criteria, walang plus minus cash yan kasi ang basis mo yung na-receive mo. Okay? And then, i-recognize na natin yung accumulated depreciation, 200,000. And then, credit equipment, which is old, lagay mo dyan, how much yun? 1 million, okay? And then, bayad tayo ng cash na 150,000. Tignan natin plus yung balancing figure. So, 150 plus 200,000 minus 1 million minus 150,000, that is 200,000. Credit gain on exchange, 200,000. So, ganito naman class yan. Kapag yung fair value of asset given up, yung determinable, punta ka dun sa second hierarchy natin. Fair value of asset received, 150. Huwag ka mag-plus minus cash yan. Okay? Now, since alam naman ni XYZ, yung 150,000, yung fair value ng asset niya, same entry lang tayo sa XYZ. Okay? So kung ano yung entry natin kanina, same lang tayo sa letter B. Okay? So, ayan. That's number 7. Ano next? Number 7, let's go to... Okay, so lagay ko dito. Punta naman tayo class dun sa illustrative example number 8. Mabilis lang to. Illustrative example number 8. Okay? Sige. So, for this one, no commercial substance. Tandaan nyo class, kapag silent yung problem, tandaan nyo, kapag silent, with commercial substance. So, dapat explicit in the problem na no commercial substance before mo i-assume na no commercial substance. ABC Company exchange equipment with XYZ. Pertinent data are shown below. Okay? Ganun pa rin, yung given. The exchange transaction lacks commercial substance. Requirement, provide the journal entries. So, ganun gagawin ko dyan class. Pag no commercial substance, carrying value yung gagamitin mo. Okay? Plus minus cash. Walang gain or loss kasi carrying value versus carrying value yan. Okay? So, in the books of ABC, how much yung carrying value na given up? Tama ba? 1 million minus 200,000 na accumulated depreciation, 800,000 yung carrying value or carrying amount. Debit equipment, new. So, that is, yung carrying amount is 800,000. Okay? Plus yung cash na binayad, which is 150. Okay? So, debit equipment yung 950,000. So, yung 800,000 plus, na-compute ko siya as 1 million na cost minus accumulated depreciation na 200,000. Okay? Plus cash na 150. Credit, i-recognize na natin, debit accumulated depreciation, 200,000. Credit equipment old, alright, 1 million. And then credit cash, 150,000. Ayan. As you can see, balance yung entry natin. Wala kang gain or loss kapag no commercial substance. In the books of XYZ, tingnan natin. Debit equipment, new. How much yung book value ni XYZ naman? 2 million minus 800,000, that's 1.2 million. Okay? 1.2 million, na-receive na yung cash na 150. So 1.2 million minus 150, that is 1,050,000. Debit equipment new, 1,050,000. I-recognize na natin yung old equipment, debit accumulated depreciation, 800,000. Naka-receive siya ng cash, debit cash, 150. Credit equipment old, okay, which is 2 million. As you notice, balance yung entry natin, walang gain or loss. Again, kapag no commercial substance, dapat explicit sa problem. Carrying value yan, plus minus cash. Okay? Plus, okay, ikaw nagbayad, minus pa ikaw naka-receive kasi sukli yun. Okay? Walang gain or loss, balance yung entry natin. Okay, next. Punta naman tayo class sa main problem number 3. So medyo pa jump tayo sa illustrative examples and main problem. Pero ayan, para mas maganda yung flow ng pagsasagot natin. Alright, so exchange pa rin class. Actually, may problem number 3, pero bilisan lang natin yan. Ha? We have 3 questions. So, Melissa Company is contemplating exchanging a machine used in operations for a similar machine on May 31. It will exchange machines with either A, B, or C. Okay, the cash flows from the asset are expected to significantly differ from the cash flows of the asset given. Ano ibig sabihin ng class? Ibig sabihin nun, with commercial substance. Okay? The data related to the machines are presented below. So, si Melissa Company, yung company natin, mag-exchange with A, B, and C. So, meron tayong cost, accumulated depreciation, and fair value. Alright? Question number 1. If the company exchanges its used machine and 15,000 cash for A's used machine, the gain or loss that the company should recognize from this transaction is, the journal entry ko na lang. Okay, debit machinery, sa books ni Melissa to ha. Yun yung tanong sa atin. Debit machinery, new. Okay, again, ang hierarchy natin, fair value of asset given up plus cash. So, how much yung fair value? 80,000. How much yung cash na binayad natin? 15. So, 80 plus 15, 95,000. De-recognize natin yung old debit accumulated depreciation, 98,500. Credit machinery, old, ang cost niyan is 162,500. Nagbayad tayo ng cash. Don't forget yun, yung cash. And then, credit gain, how much yung balancing figure natin? 95,000 plus 98,500 minus 162,500 minus 15,000. Balancing figure natin, class, 16,000. Answer for question number 1, letter C. Ang shortcut dyan, again, carrying amount. How much yung carrying amount? 162,500 minus 98,500. How much yun? 162,500 minus 98,500, 64,000. Okay? How much yung fair value? That is 80,000. Tama? Difference ng dalawa is 16,000. Kaya tayo merong gain. Yun yung shortcut. Okay? Pero, para mas sigurado tayo, okay? Question number 2. If the company exchanges its used cash for B and also receives, tayo naman yung naka-receive ng cash. So, paano yun? Debit machinery new. Okay? Pag naka-receive, sukli yun. So, minus mo. How much yung fair value na binigay natin? 80,000. Minus cash na 20, 60,000. Okay? Naka-receive tayo ng cash. Huwag mo kalimutan sa journal entry yan, 20. De-recognize natin yung accumulated depreciation, which is 98,500. Credit machinery, old, which is 162,500. Let's compute for the gain or loss. Okay, debit muna, 60,000 plus 20,000 plus 98,500 minus 162,500, that is 16,000. Lagot dito class, 16,000 gain. Letter dog, none of the above. 16,000 gain. Question number 3. If the company exchanges its used machine and 85,000 cash for its machine, tayo naman yung nagbayad. Okay? Add natin yan. How much daw yung gain or loss? Debit machinery, new, how much yung fair value ng class? 80,000. Plus, yung binayad natin ng cash to 85, 165,000. Okay? Debit natin yung accumulated depreciation, which is 98,500. Credit machinery, old, which is 162,500. Don't forget, nagbayad tayo ng cash. So, may credit cash tayo dyan na 85,000. And then, our gain is, let's compute, 165,000 plus 98,500 minus 162,500 minus 82. Ulit, 165 plus 98,500 minus 162,500 minus 85,000. That is 16,000. Answer natin for question number 3 is letter C, 16,000. Okay. So, that is for the exchange. Malapit na tayo, class. So, dito tayo sa number 4. Okay lang ba? Erase ko na to. Tandaan mo na lang kapag no commercial substance, carrying value, and no gain or loss. So, erase natin to. Para may space tayo for, okay, for number 4. Fourth na mode of acquisition is trade-in. Actually, kasi yung trade-in, parang exchange lang din yan. Okay? It's a form of exchange. Pero usually, yung trade-ins involves significant cash. Okay? Unlike yung exchange, pwedeng may cash, pwedeng wala. Kapag trade-in, laging meron yan. And usual yan for car dealers. Siguro kapag nag-travel ka, nasa highway ka, baka may mga nakikita kang mga car dealers, naka-display yung mga cars doon. Okay, nakalagay doon, we accept trade-ins. Familiar ba? Yun yung ibig sabihin natin. Okay? Great, ang gagawin mo dyan, si X, magbibigay siya ng old car plus cash, kasi significant cash, makaka-receive siya ng new car. Yun yung trade-in. Okay? Ano sir yung mga kailangan namin sa trade-in? Natandaan. Ang hierarchy dyan, class, number 1 is the same as this one. Fair value of asset given up plus cash payment, kasi usually tayo nagbabayad dyan. Okay? Tayo nagbabayad. Bigyan natin yung old car natin plus cash. Okay? Hindi yan usually nakaka-receive ng cash. Laging bayad yan. And number 2 is fair value of asset received. Ayan, fair value of asset received. Okay? And usually kasi kapag trade-in, determinable lagi yung fair value niyan. Kaya wala kang number 3. Okay? Pag trade-in, fair value asset given up plus cash, walang minus cash kasi lagi tayo nagbabayad dyan. If hindi determinable, fair value of asset received. Okay, let's move on to illustrative example number. Nasaan na tayo? Number 8. I think number 8 na tayo. O, number 9. Okay, acquisition through trade-in. Erase natin yan. Let's see. So, acquisition through trade-in. Let's read. Okay, so ABC company traded an old equipment for a new model. Alright? And then pertinent data are as follows. May old equipment and then may new equipment. Prepare the journal entry. Tingnan natin yung mga given class. Old equipment, merong cost, 50,000. Merong accumulated depreciation, and then merong fair value. Okay. New equipment, list price. Ibig sabihin list price ay yung selling price na brand new. Okay. Cash price without trade-in, and then cash price with trade-in. Ano ibig sabihin na, sir? So, ganito yung class. Illustrative example 9. Tayo sa ABC, and then ito yung car dealer or yung equipment dealer. Okay? Ang gagawin natin dyan, ibibigay natin yung old equipment plus cash. Okay? And then makaka-receive tayo ng new equipment. Ganun yung trade-in. Okay? Parang exchange lang din yan. Now, ang tanong dyan, class, is how much yung cash na ibabayad mo na yan? Okay? How much yung cash na yan? Tingin ka dun sa cash price with trade-in. Okay? Ibig sabihin nun, kapag daw may trinade tayo na old, okay? Yung cash na babayaran mo is 55,000. Yun yung ibig sabihin na. Kapag sinabing cash price without trade-in, kapag pure cash lang ibibigay natin, walang old equipment, 70,000 yung babayad natin. Guess may difference? Pag with trade-in, ibig sabihin, kasama yung old equipment. Pag without trade-in, cash lang ibabayad natin na 70,000. Okay? Yun yung mahalaga sa atin. Yung list price, hindi yan important sa atin. Okay? So, lagay ko yung journal entry. Okay, so since given yung fair value of asset given up, ito, which is 20,000. I-plus natin yung cash na babayad natin. How much ulit? Kapag with trade-in, 55,000. Debit, equipment, new. Okay, so 20,000 plus cash payment na 55. So yung 20, yun yung fair value. Okay, plus cash payment na 55, debit natin dyan is 75,000. Okay, so pag tinanong how much yung cost of the new equipment, 75,000 yung sagot. Sorry. Yeah, 75,000 yung sagot natin. De-recognize natin yung old, debit accumulated depreciation, 20,000. Credit equipment, old, how much? 50,000. Don't forget, nagbayad tayo ng cash na 55,000. Therefore, meron tayong loss na how much? Ulitin natin. Okay, yung credit muna, 50,000 plus 55,000 minus 75,000 minus 20,000. That is 10,000 loss. Okay, pag tinanong sa'yo, how much yung loss? Answer mo dyan, 10,000. Okay, extend natin yung problem. What if yung fair value na 20,000 is hindi given sa problem? Wala yan. Okay, ano yung journal entry natin? Punta ka dun sa fair value of asset received. How much yung fair value of asset received? Basically, yun naman yung cash price without trade-in. Okay? Kasi pag sinabing cash price without trade-in, yun yung pure cash lang ibabayad natin. So, yun yung fair value. Okay? So, it means debit equipment, new, that is 70,000. Okay? De-recognize natin yung old debit accumulated depreciation, 20,000. Credit equipment, old, which is 50,000. Credit cash, 55,000. Okay? Tingnan natin yung balancing figure natin, class. 50,000 plus 55,000 minus 70 minus 20, we have a loss on trade-in, 15,000. So, tanda mo, class, kapag hindi determinable yung asset given up, dun ka sa fair value of asset received. Ano yung fair value of asset received na yan? Ito yung cash price without trade-in. Iyan yung pag pure cash natin bibilin yung new equipment. Gets? Okay, so yan yung journal entries natin. Alright, so, next. Mabilis na yung iba, class. So, tapos na tayo sa trade-in. Let's go to number 5 and 6. Sabayan natin gagawin yan. Issuance of shares and then issuance of bonds. Bumili tayo ng PPE, nag-issue tayo ng shares, or nag-issue tayo ng bonds. Okay, now, ito yung rules dito, class. Magkamukha yung rules dyan, no? Number 1 is fair value of asset received. And number 2, fair value of instruments issued. It's either shares or bonds issued. Now, tanda mo, class, laging given up. Given up, yung priority. Given up, puro ganun, given up. Ang exception to the rule, kapag shares and bonds. Okay? Ang priority, yung asset received, hindi yung given up o yung instruments na in-issue natin. Okay? Tanda mo, ito yung exception to the rule, ha? Sa standards. Everything else, lahat ng modes of acquisition, given up muna bago receive. Sa shares and bonds, receive muna bago given up. Okay? Sige. Let's go to illustrative example number 10. Illustrative example number 10. Apply natin yung class. So, acquisition through shares. Alright, Pinnacle Company acquired land with fair value of 1 million by issuing 10,000 shares, par value of 10, and quoted price of 90. Prepare the journal entry to record the acquisition. So, given yung fair value of asset received, how much on? 1 million. Debit land, 1 million. Credit share capital at par value. So, 10,000 shares times 10 per share, 100,000. And then credit share premium or APIC, okay, 900,000. So, sagot mo dyan, pag tinanong how much yung land, 1 million. So, yun yung journal entry natin. Because, ang priority natin, fair value of asset received. Ano na-receive mo? Land, 1 million. Requirement B, provide the journal entry assuming yung fair value of the land is not readily determinable kung ano yung in-issue natin. Dito, shares. Okay? Kapag ganyang class, debit land, which is 10,000 shares times 90 per share, 900,000. For example, doon, hindi natin alam yung 1 million. Credit share capital, 100,000. And then credit share premium, balancing figure natin, 800,000. In that case, magiging cost ng land natin is 900,000. Okay? Same lang yan for illustrative example number 11. Bonds naman tayo. Okay, Pinnacle Company acquired land with fair value of 950,000 by issuing a 3-year, 10%, 1 million bonds. Principal is due January 1, etc. The present value given sa atin, 951,963. Letter A, provide the journal entry to record the acquisition. Same rules will apply. Debit land, may fair value na 950,000. Credit bonds payable na 1 million, always at face amount yan. 1 million minus 950. Debit discount on bonds payable, 50,000. Pag tinanong how much yung cost ng land, 950,000. Letter B, prepare the journal entry assuming the fair value of the asset received is indeterminable. Pag yung receive hindi determinable, yung inisyo natin ng bonds. Okay? Debit land, according to the last sentence, yung bonds merong present value na 951,963. Credit bonds payable, 1 million. Difference nila, 1 million minus 951,963. Meron tayong discount, which is 48,037. Okay? So, ayan. Entry natin. Pag tinanong yung cost ng land, 951,963. Last one. Then, we're done with part 1. So, last nating class, mode of acquisition is through donation. Dinonate sa atin yung PPE. So, pag dinonate yung PPE, laging measure lang siya at fair value at the date of donation. Okay? Yung na-receive natin. Okay? Fair value lagi yan. Pero, merong rules ka pang kailangan tandaan dyan. Kapag yung nag-donate sa'yo is an unrelated party, hindi related sa atin, okay? Income yan. Okay? Pag naman related party, for example, class shareholder, okay? Pag related party such as shareholder, i-credit mo yan sa donated capital. Ano yung nature ng donated capital? Share premium yan or APIC. Okay? I-discuss natin yan sa shareholders equity. Pero tandaan mo lang for now, pag sinabi donated capital, share premium yan. Okay? Or APIC. Let's go to our last illustrative example, number 12. Illustrative example, number 12. Tingnan natin paano kapag donation. Okay? Okay, ABC company received donation of equipment from XYZ and unrelated. Kapag unrelated, income. Okay? The equipment has a fair value of 1 million at fair value na na-receive natin. So, lagyan natin, journal entry, debit equipment. Credit income from donation. Okay? How much? 1 million. Pero ingat ka, sabi dyan, necessary costs incurred by ABC to bring the asset to its intended condition. Di ba kapag directly attributable cost, kinakapitalize natin, exception dito sa donation. Kapag donation, babawasan mo yung credit mo. Okay? Debit income from donation, credit, cash, 10,000. Okay? Huwag mo i-capitalize sa equipment. Alright? Ima-minus mo dun sa credit mo. Kasi hindi naman ikaw nagbayad talaga nung equipment para dun sa equipment na yan. Okay? So, debit income from donation. So, pag tinanong how much yung income from donation, 1 million minus 10,000 or 990,000. Letter B, provide the journal entry to record the receipt of the donation, assuming the donor is a shareholder. Related party yan. Donated capital. Debit equipment, credit donated capital. Donated capital is APIC or share premium, 1 million. And then, yung necessary cost na 10,000, again, ibabawas mo sa donated capital. Debit donated capital, credit cash, 10,000. Ayan. So, ito yung journal entry natin for the donation. Okay. Sige. And then, let's answer some theory questions, class. Yung related lang dun sa costing. Okay? So, medyo may skip tayo ng ibang items for the theory. Let's go to theory number 1, which is not an essential characteristic of PPE. Punta ka dun sa letter A. Okay, letter A. Nang nakalagay dyan, the PPE are subject to depreciation. Siyempre, pag land, hindi mo di-depreciate yan. Okay, tingnan natin ibang choices. PPE are tangible assets? Yes. Letter C, PPE are used in production or supply of goods and services, for rental and for administrative purposes, expected to be used over a period of more than 1 year or long-term in nature. So, tama yung B, C, and D. Punta ka dun sa number 3. Okay, carrying amount is, punta ka dun sa DOG, amount at which an asset is recognized in the balance sheet after deducting any accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment. So, yung carrying amount for number 3 is DOG. Okay? Sige. Let's go to number 4. The cost of PPE comprises all of the following except, tingnan natin. A, its purchase price. Ayun. Including import duties and non-refundable. Sabi ko, pag non-refundable, capitalize natin yan. After deducting trade discounts, discount, whether taken or not, dideduct natin yan. And rebates. Cost of opening a new facility. O, hindi na. Readily available for use na yung PPE. Expense na yung boy na yan. So, except boy, number 4. Yung letter C, any cost directly attributable to bring the asset to the condition by the management. Okay, directly attributable costs. Necessary in manner intended by management, capitalize yan. The initial estimate of cost of dismantling, basta dapat required by the contract of or law, kasama yan sa cost. So, boy for number 4, expense yan. Number 5, directly attributable costs include all of the following except A, cost of site preparation, yes. Professional fees such as architects and engineers, yes. Estimated cost of dismantling, yes. Initial operating losses, hindi. Log, hindi yan. Number 6, as to land, capitalizable incidental costs do not include A. Legal fees, kasama yan. Commission paid to broker, necessary yan. Cost of permanent improvement, kasama yan. So actually, pwede mo siyang isama sa land improvements. No? Dog expenditures for fence, water system, sidewalk, and paving. Yung letter C, yung pag-permanent improvement. Okay, sorry, yung letter C pala, sa land yan. Kasi nakalagay grading, leveling, okay, yung pagle-level, pagpapatag sa land yan. Yung letter D, expenditure for fence, water system, sidewalk, and paving, iyan yung land improvements. Okay? Kaya for number 6, dog yan. Do not include dog. Doon tayo sa number 9, plant assets purchased on a long-term credit installment should be accounted for at, well, kung may cash price equivalent, cash price equivalent. Kung wala, present value. Letter C, number 9, letter C. Number 10, when accounting for PPE, an entity, meron siyang option, cost model or revaluation. So may elect, so letter C, may elect cost model or revaluation model. Let's go to jump tayo to number 19. 19. If an entity is able to determine reliably the fair value of either the asset received or asset given up, which is used in measuring the cost. Ano lagi yung rule natin? Given up. Okay, asset given up lagi. Exception lang kapag shares and bonds received yan. Okay, letter A for number 19. 19. Number 20, the cost of a non-monetary asset acquired in exchange with commercial substance. Okay, recorded at asset given up. Okay, and then letter B, the fair value of the asset given up. Gain or loss is recognized. Merong gain or loss kapag with commercial substance. Wala kang gain or loss kapag no commercial substance. B for number 20. Number 21, accounting recognition should be given to the gain realized on non-monetary exchange except boy. Kapag no commercial substance, wala kang gain or loss. Boy for number 21. 22, which of the following has commercial substance? Ano ibig sabihin ko ng commercial substance? Difference in cash flows. Punta ka sa C. Exchange of assets with a difference in future cash flows. Kung maalala mo yung example natin, yung isa computer, isa generator. Magkaiba ng nature yan, may kaiba ng cash flows. Letter C for number 22. Number 23, when payment for item of PPE is deferred beyond normal terms, the difference, interest expense yan. Okay? So, kapag nag-issue ka ng notes payable, for example, o yung difference, charge mo sa interest expense. Letter B for number 23. 24, when a closely held corporation issued shares. Issued shares. Ano yung rule natin dyan? The land should be recorded at asset received, letter C. Fair value of asset received. That is for, boy pala, sorry. Nasaan ba ako? When a closely held corporation issues equity shares, fair value of asset received. Tama. So, nasan yun? Letter boy pala. Current market value of the land. Okay, of the land. Yun yung na-receive natin land. So, boy for number 24. When an item of PPE is acquired by issuing debt securities, ayun, which is the basis of the historical cost of the acquired asset. Fair value of asset received. Kapag hindi determinable, fair value of the instruments issued. Letter C for number 25. Number 26, assets received in donation should, at fair value, letter C, at the time of donation. Letter C tayo. Be depreciated at the fair value at the time of donation. 27, an expenditure made in connection with the machine being used should be, okay, punta ka dun sa dog for 27, FYI to class na. Capitalized if it increases the quantity of units produced by the machine. Kapag nag-incur tayo ng cost and then merong probable future economic benefits, so dito, increase daw yung quantity of units, mas marami tayong mabibenta. Therefore, mas mataas yung revenues natin. Economic benefits yan. Kakapitalize natin yung class. Dog for number 27. And number 28, last one for part 1, which of the following cannot be added to the carrying amount? Punta ka dun sa letter C. Okay? O, tingnan mo natin yung ibang choices. Yung A, cost of modification that will extend its useful life. Economic benefits, tatagal yung buhay ng property. B, cost of upgrading, achieve substantial improvements in quality of output. Probable future economic benefits. C, cost of materials repairs that did not increase the life nor productive capacity. Expense yan. Okay, so letter C yung sagot mo sa 28. Letter D, cost of adopting new production process that enabled substantial reduction in operating costs. Bababa yung expense, capitalize mo yan. Again, kapag nag-incur ka ng cost and may probable future economic benefits, either to increase revenues or to decrease expenses, capitalize mo yan. Okay, so that's the end for part 1 of PPE.